The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
A Football Friday with Fred White, former Tennessee safety and broadcast superstar, joins us. A former Vol. He shares some information about an illness that he suffered last year that really hurt him in terms of not only his final season at UT, but also his draft status. We'll get into that. Quinn Ewers or Joe Milton are viewed very different by some scouts, despite the fact that they're about equally productive. Also, coming up on the program, Joe Milton talks a little trash, and this is going to take hold and will be a factor in Gainesville. I can promise you that. Tennessee football, will they be a top 30 program of the college football playoff era after this season? We've got a lot going on, and there is potential for the Saudis to invest in college football. What would that do to your fandom? Hello, Caleb Calhoun. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you today, Dave?
I'm fantastic. I don't know which day it is because the 4th, and I came back from vacation, but I'm slowly figuring it out. I think it's Friday. Is it Friday?
It's Friday, and we are doing better than Britney Spears, who apparently got slapped by Victor Wembanyama's security yesterday in Vegas.
I saw that. That was very bizarre. Maybe today's tough question should be, what athlete would you like to get slapped by your security personnel? Instead, let's go in this direction. It is time for today's tough question, and it's brought to you by Andy Mason of AndyMasonRealEstate.com.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, we like to give away stuff, and then gave away a shirt yesterday. We're going to give away another shirt today. If you can tell me who should be the Vols cover athlete, because in a little bit, I'm going to tell you who represents Tennessee at SEC Media Days, not next week, but the week after. But Kobe Bryant, the late Kobe Bryant, was named the cover athlete for NBA 2K24. So if there was a UT college football game, which there's not even a college football game for some reason, they can't figure that out. But if there was one for the University of Tennessee headed into the season, who should be on the cover? Who should be on the Vols cover of, let's call it, Tennessee Football 2K? There you go, Caleb. So I'm going to save my answer till the end. Whoever nails it wins a Off the Hook Sports t-shirt. So we love to give those away. Caleb, who do you think should be on the front before we get into that admission of a serious illness that affected Trey Flowers' career?
I'm going to stay in the spirit of Kobe Bryant and honor, and I think in that spirit, you honor somebody who has passed, who's a legend with the program, at which point I go with Johnny Majors. Guy played for Tennessee, came home to Tennessee after winning a national title when the program was in shambles to rebuild it. Yeah, he didn't win a national title as a head coach, but I still think you can't get more Tennessee than Johnny Majors.
All right. If you can match who would be on my cover for UT24K or whatever we want to call it, then I will hook you up with a Off the Hook Sports t-shirt. Now let's get to Trey Flowers, who talked about an illness he dealt with last year. And it's kind of one of those situations that, like Chris Lofton, you kind of feel bad for questioning him after when he shares this fact. Trey Flowers said on his Instagram account, I guess it's time to update the world on what I've been going through. These past months have been some of the hardest of my life. I was diagnosed with something called myositis. Myositis, in shorter words, is weakness and inflammation in the muscles in the body. And basically, my body was fighting against itself. Sounds like an autoimmune disease. This disease attacked my body so fast, I didn't understand why I was feeling The way I played my last football season, not even knowing I was dealing with. I knew something wasn't right because I didn't feel like the player I know I am, but I continued to push through. It took months just to figure out what was going on. I had zero answers. The good news, he states, after I found out what was going on, I started my treatment ASAP. During my treatment, which I started back in February, I was unable to do any extraneous workouts, no senior bowls, no pro day. Good news is I was recently cleared to start working out again. I know God has the last say. So my head high, and I'll forever stand on 10. So you were one of the ones, Caleb, that I thought was the most optimistic and positive about Trey Flowers in particular. And you said he probably covers up for a lot of mistakes. So kudos to you for pointing that out when it was easy just to say, oh, the defensive backs are terrible. That was the easy way to say it. My heart breaks for the young man because it's such an important season, much like Chris Lofton, who played with testicular cancer in his final year. And everybody wondered what was wrong with Chris Lofton, that's just not Chris. And then we figured out when he shared the information of the cancer diagnosis that occurred during his senior season. So what's your take on this Trey Flowers situation? Since you've been high on him, it makes me wonder if you think that in a year or two, he might be a solid NFL player after he's been healthy for a while. Your thoughts, Taylor?
Yeah, I think this is just bad break after bad break for Trey Flowers with his career. I got to be honest. For those of you who don't know, Trey Flowers, by all accounts, would have been a 4-star very clearly and flirted with the 5-star when he was being recruited. But he had committed to play baseball first. And because he didn't take part in a lot of the rivals camps and things like that in his junior year, by the time he was ready to fully focus on football, it held back his star ratings. And Dave, you know this covering recruiting. You don't take part in those camps. That really hurts your ratings when you're trying to get noticed by a lot of people.
Absolutely. It can be the difference between 4 scholarship offers and 14, 15, 16 scholarship offers. I'll give you an example. This was shared to me in confidence, but there is a former Tennessee player whose son has been told by Notre Dame and Michigan, because he is in East Tennessee, he's been told that if Tennessee offers, then we'll immediately offer. So maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I say that to say sometimes one team can cause 8 different offers to come. And there's no question in my mind that if Trey Flowers had been in those workouts, he would have gotten that one offer that could lead to 6 or 8. No question. You're absolutely right about how recruiting works in those summer workouts.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he took 1 year longer than he should have to decide to play football, which he should have the right to do. It's crazy that kids shouldn't have the right to be able to, should have to make that commitment before they're ready. But he commits to football, goes to Tennessee because Jeremy Pruitt, great evaluator of talent, scouts him as a 3-star, immediately steps in as a starting safety. Second year on an interception as the full-time starter, his second year breaks his leg on an interception against Mississippi State. Comes back, gets his body back into shape, is, I thought, very good in 2021. Struggled in 2020 as he was getting back. And then last year, with Alontae Taylor gone, is having to cover for so many deficiencies in the secondary. I still thought had NFL potential. And then we realized this story where he was playing with myositis. Now I'm like, wow, if he didn't have this, he could have been way better, because if I'm seeing it, other scouts are seeing it. Other scouts are seeing that he's covering for so many other deficiencies despite how bad the defense is. I know that much. And I'd been wondering why he didn't at least didn't warrant a look at Pro Day, at the Combine, or at any of these Senior Bowl things or whatever. And now we're seeing why, because he couldn't. And it's just it's just the worst timing with him. I feel so awful for him, but I'm so glad this is out there. I'm so glad that he's able to continue his workout and playing career now. I think there's a spot for Trey Flowers on some roster. I was always a huge fan of him last year, and I still think Tennessee's going to miss him this year.
Okay. So I want to ask you that. You do think that there's a spot on the roster. Can he be a starter? First, I want to tell you about AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Best service, best prices in the biz. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Over 40 years of combined experience in his office. He's phenomenal. Getting ready to make a real estate move. AndyMasonRealEstate.com is where I will go. So Trey Flowers, let me ask you this. Will he be a starter, or will he be roster, starter, Pro Bowl, All Pro? 4 levels.
Roster. I don't see starter, Pro Bowl, or All Pro, but I do see a roster guy. I see a roster guy.
If he's 100% healthy, I'm not going to rule out starter. Now, he has to fall in the right situation like everybody does, but I won't rule it out. I will say that I agree with you. However, I think it's going to be roster. Be sure and hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't to this point, and turn your notifications on before we get to another topic. We got Joe Milton talking some trash in a little bit, and somebody on the message board said, how did Lane Kiffin come up? Well, it came up because of this. He's joking, and I ask you, who should be Tennessee's cover figure on an let's say UT 2K24 game, because Kobe Bryant, the late Kobe Bryant, is going to be on the NBA 2K24 game. So if you are able to tell me who my pick is at the end of the show, then I will hook you up with an Off the Hook Sports shirt. And
well, if it's Kiffin, let's just go all in and do Lane Kiffin, Bruce Pearl, and Donnie Tyndall, man. Let's get them all. Let's just
be a heck of a shirt, wouldn't it?
It would. I mean, it's you, Dave. You had the greatest, you got to cover a year where Tennessee had Pat Summitt, Lane Kiffin, and Bruce Pearl. All 3 of those guys were at the same school for a year. I still look back, I'm like, that's incredible.
Yeah, and I said to myself at the time, I said, this is good stuff, and it's not going to continue. Both the success and the sensational nature of the program. And sure enough, it didn't. And it got bad. Now, I didn't think it was going to get that bad, of the decade of dysfunction, as Mark Nagy calls it. But no, that was a pretty special year. Pat Summitt was just the all-time great to cover. She was fantastic. So let's get to some Quinn Ewers, or Joe Milton, as a 2024 draft prospect, because Joe Milton is not even in the first round of the mock draft. That does not surprise me. This, according to ESPN. Quinn Ewers, however, was a top 10 draft prospect. So I want to go through some of the stats and do a comparison on these two guys, but let me go ahead and just clarify right now. Scouts at both the college and NFL level think more of Ewers than Milton right now, significantly. Ewers got a perfect ranking in 247 Sports prospect ranking. Joe Milton was just a 3-star. Now, both have transferred. I don't think that's held against Joe Milton. I don't think that's even a factor anymore. You used to hold that against people in the draft process. But before we get into some of their college production and what they've actually done, which is pretty similar, let me get your thoughts on comparing Quinn Ewers and Joe Milton. Ewers, of course, of Texas.
Yes, so this came up because we were looking at like you talked about, a ranking of NFL draft prospects for 2024, and 3 quarterbacks were in the top 10. Now, Quinn Ewers was one of them. The other 2 were Caleb Williams, no issue there because he's a Heisman winner, and Drake May, who you and I both agree is the best quarterback prospect in next year's draft, bar none. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing that bothers me is Quinn Ewers in the top 10 at number 10, and Joe Milton not even in the first round, when I think back to last year, and Anthony Richardson got hyped up to a top 5 pick. And what is Anthony Richardson? What is the standard for a top 5, top 10 pick here? Because if you go by last year's standard, Quinn Ewers wouldn't be a first rounder and Joe Milton would be a top 5 pick. But all of a sudden this year, Quinn Ewers is a top 10 pick and Joe Milton isn't a first rounder. I'm like, again, it seems like it seems like they change the standard randomly every year. And I think that's what kind of bothers me about this list, because I think that if you're going based off last year, you should consider Joe Milton a far better draft prospect than Quinn Ewers, because scouts are valuing the size, the mobility, and the arm strength. Which one of those things does Joe Milton not have? I mean, so I don't get this.
No, it takes one team, and in Richardson's case, it was the Colts. So it takes one team to get you up there, and one team could fall in love with you and think that you're going to be this incredible player because of your tangibles, how far you can throw the ball. He's a much better runner than Ewers. I think we would all agree in that, even though I don't think we've seen the best of his running. And it takes one team to say, that's my guy. And I do believe that ultimately Milton and Ewers could be considered around the same place as long as Milton plays well. But I do believe they'll be considered for far different reasons. You bring up Richardson. I think that's a great reason. Ewers, however, I believe has better touch on the ball and better accuracy from what I have seen. Now, let's take a look at the stats. If you want to look at the stats, I'm going to pull what Ewers has done at Texas. He's got a 132 overall rating. I think he played 2 snaps for Ohio State, but 58% completion percentage, yards per attempt, 7.4, 15 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. So I'm going to pull what Joe Milton has just done at Tennessee. So I'm not going to get into the Michigan stuff, but he completed about 59% of his passes, 9.3 yards per attempt. Also, as far as touchdowns to interceptions, 12 touchdowns, hadn't thrown an interception at Tennessee yet, and has a 165 rating. So if you want to go by stats, it just makes your argument that much stronger. He's 30-plus points better in a quarterback rating than Quinn Ewers. So when I first saw this, when we had our 3:45 production meeting this morning, I thought, well, Ewers seems like a more solid prospect. But when you really look at the numbers, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I wonder if some people still think about that Ole Miss crazy play where he jumped out of bounds with no time left. That still sticks in my head, guys. I'll be honest with you. I've been called a Joe Milton hater. I'm not. I hope nothing but the best for the young man. But that's the kind of mistake that still stands out. And
I think he panicked just being thrown into the situation the last drive, which I'm not saying that's a good sign because you don't want your quarterback should always be ready. But clearly Joe Milton wasn't ready to go win the game at that moment, and I think he panicked a little bit.
I think he panicked a lot a bit. I mean, I think he clearly panicked, and that could be 1 in a million. But I don't know that it is. In a pressure situation, Tennessee is going to need him to make plays, and if he's not able to do that in clutch situations, it could be the difference in 2 wins or losses. I mean, you could be, instead of a 10-2 team, you could be an 8-4 if he makes mistakes late. Program brought to you in part by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. They have over 50 years of experience. So I'll go ahead and tell you this: City Heating and Air Conditioning, integrity matters. You might not need a whole new unit when these temperatures continue to climb up in July and August. Might just need a part or some Freon. At the end of the day, who do you think will be a better NFL prospect and quarterback? So we're having this conversation in a year, who was drafted higher. We're having this conversation in 10 years, who was a better quarterback in the NFL.
Okay, now, if you ask me, I mean, I hate to go here, but if you ask me based on my standard and not what I think NFL standards should be, because I think they're inconsistent, it has to be Quinn Ewers. I don't think Joe Milton's accuracy is something that he can never develop to be able to play at the necessary level at the NFL. I think it's one that's going to make him a very good college player. I think there will be a roster spot for him in the NFL. I don't ever see Joe Milton as an NFL starter, though. And I don't see Anthony Richardson as one either. I mean, I have never believed in arm strength as something that I think it's so overvalued with NFL draft picks at quarterback.
Well, I totally agree with that. If you get to this level, you have enough arm strength, and being able to throw the ball 65 yards, or let's say 75 yards instead of 65 yards, or 90 yards instead of 65 yards, really doesn't make a big difference. Can you make all the throws? Can you make the deep out from the far hash. Can you do that? I care more about the low profile ball. And when I look at Milton, I'm going to disagree just a little bit here, Caleb, because I thought Hendon Hooker had big time accuracy issues, and that got fixed last year. So with Joe Milton, I think it can get fixed. I used to not believe that. I used to think that accuracy was kind of innate, like being a good shooter in basketball. I think you can improve pretty drastically. So I'm
gonna have to break with you on that with Hooker though, and I disagree with you about Hooker. Like, did it come and go in 2021? Yes, but I didn't think it was bad. It just turned out to be. It just went from okay to really, really, really good in 2022. We're asking Joe Milton to go. Joe Milton wasn't okay. His accuracy was horrendous. I mean, horrendous. And I don't know if you can go from horrendous to good.
Okay, well, let's put it this way. If Hooker was a B-, C+, he went to an A+, right? Last year, I think we can agree
I'd
with
say
that.
A-. He still missed on some throws last year. So I'd say A-.
Yeah, and I don't want to lean on completion percentage, but it was really high. So anyway, we'll say A-. So he went a full grade. Joe Milton's a D.
He was an F 2 years ago. I mean, he was an F. That it was horrendous how bad his accuracy was.
Well, that makes me wonder about your thoughts on Tennessee, because you said that you think they'll win 10 games. If he's an F or a D, they're not going to win 10 games.
I think Joe Milton can go up 2 full letter grades because he's been in the system for 3 years now. So, but that's getting him to a C. And I think a C is all you need in Josh Heupel's system to be okay. You need better than a C in the NFL.
Pretty good point. I like that. I like all of that. At the end of the day, I got to see some games. I'll tell you at the end of September who I think is the better NFL prospect. But right now, I would say Ewers. I think that could change. I'm leaving the door open slightly, taking the, I guess, easy way out. But I'm not 100% sure. Now, Travis says his accuracy wasn't the issue, or he wouldn't be playing D1. It was a timing issue. There's probably some truth to that. There's probably a lot of truth to that. It's probably a little bit of both.
Can you develop? And I guess timing you can kind of develop, right? You can kind of pick that up, which would be a good sign for him.
Yeah, I think that he's going to be okay. Let's go back to his completion percentage, and his completion percentage at Tennessee has been 59%. What was Hendon Hooker last year? Hendon Hooker last year was 59%, right? I'm sorry, 69%.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker pushed 70. But you got to remember, it's 59%, but in games that mattered, I mean, Joe Milton was 51.6% in 2021, and he went up to 64.6 this past year. I don't consider that improvement. So much of that was mop-up duty with Joe Milton. I mean, so much of it was mop-up duty. So the only game we have to go on where he showed accuracy was the Orange Bowl. Now, we don't know what to make of it because the Vanderbilt game, he wasn't accurate at all. All of his issues were still on display in the Vanderbilt game, but it was raining in that game. And then the Orange Bowl happened.
Yeah, the weather conditions were horrible. Talking to Cooper Mays and Jacob Warren on the Vol Report, they said it was worse than it looked on television. So you can go one way. You can say that the weather conditions were terrible. His accuracy was terrible. It was because of the weather. And then on the flip side, you could say Clemson didn't really want to play and they weren't motivated to play. I think it's probably somewhere in between. Where he'll be different, and what I really like about Joe Milton is the intermediate over the middle passes, the low profile passes, the little darts. I saw enough accuracy out of the Orange Bowl to believe he'll be really good on that. Now, is he going to be good on the other touch passes? That's a whole different question. Fred White coming up next. We always enjoy talking to Fred White. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and turn those notifications on. Fred White coming up next with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports.
Sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center. Ah.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
There's your bear.
Our family has been creating one-of-a-kind pieces of jewelry in West Knoxville since 1986. Each piece is a combination of unique processes that bring your idea to life. Every day in our shop, a truly special item with a story all its own is being manufactured in our facility, bringing the history and family sentiment into a whole new generation of life. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler, a title that we value and respect. Because to me, being a jeweler and owning a jewelry store are not the same thing. I'm Rick Terry. I'm a jeweler, and we want to be your jeweler. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut, and downtown on Gay Street right next to the Tennessee Theater.
When you want a hard cider that's easy to enjoy, one that's crafted to perfection, you need Tennessee Cider Company. Some say it's the signature cider of the South. Others say it's the cure to your craving. They all say you'll savor every sip. With a selection of ciders free to sample, all it takes is one taste. Visit tncidercompany.com for more information, as well as to shop our ciders and merchandise online. Thirsty yet? Doors open at 10 a.m.
Who's this guy?
Hello, who is it?
The Dave Hooker Show.
Who?
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Candidates for the UT2K24 game, because the late Kobe Bryant is going to be on front of the NBA 2K24 game. Travis says it's Joe Milton. Travis says it's General Nealon. Now, this is just for 1 year, guys. And if you're able to pick who I select, and I'll share that at the end of the show, I'm going to hook you up with an Off the Hook Sports t-shirt. I said hook you up. That's sounded really corny. Oh, no, it's terrible. All right. So, by the way, my daughter shared something with me. She goes, I stole one of your lines, because everybody always asks when I say my name. They say, Booker? No, Hooker, just like the working women. That's what I say. And she stole that. And it sounds so much funnier coming from a teenage girl, if you think about it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
As a 40-something-year-old dude. So we got to share dinner last night and talk about that. I thought that was pretty funny. Again, tell me who should be on the cover of this year's Tennessee football game, if there was one. And thank you, Jeremy, for saying best Tennessee podcast, Go Big Orange. We're so excited for the football season. We'll have daily guests lined up, some big names. We already have Josh Ward on Thursdays, Fred White on Fridays. So please turn your notifications on now. Be a part of what I think is going to be a special season for Tennessee football, and hopefully a special season for us as well. We'll be at SEC Media Days, not next week, but the week after. I have been told by 3 people I completely trust, and I wrote a column about it, about who Tennessee will take to SEC Media Days. And it's going to be Omari Thomas, Joe Milton, and Jacob Warren. So those are going to be the 3, and they're going to be at SEC Media Days. And the reason I bring that up is because I want to ask Caleb Calhoun. I'm going to give you 5 picks. Who should be on the cover of UT2K24, which is hard to say. Who pick 5 figures that, and see, I'll tell you if you get one of them that I think should be on the cover. I'm not going to give you a t-shirt, but you can have one anyway. Pick 5 guys, and I'll tell you if you pick my guy, because I think mine's going to be surprising.
One of the hostesses that Lane Kiffin hired. No, I'm kidding.
That's right.
All of the hostesses.
Give
All
Brittany
of
a
them
call.
are
Let's give Brittany
Those
a
are
call.
the
See what
dope-
Brittany's up to.
Okay, so here's the real question, David. You have to make this clear. Is this a game coming out one time, or is it going to be coming out every year? Is this going to be a yearly game?
It's to be every year. It's to be every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So think this year. I think I think based off Travis and Tom's picks, I don't think I did a great job of explaining it. But
But is
yeah,
this
this
the,
is the one year thing.
inaugural game? Is this the inaugural game, or are we to assume that this game has been coming out every year?
This has been coming out.
Okay. All right. So we can't make
This
this
is not
special,
the inaugural game. If it's the inaugural game, like Travis said, it's General Neyland, no question. But
Yes.
I'm pretending that last year it was Hendon Hooker, and the year before that it was gosh knows who, Jeremy Pruitt.
Okay, well, if you're doing it for this year, then I think it's very clearly. I'm thinking of the players that we know are going to be like players on the team. So I'm going Jacob Warren, Cooper Mays, Amari Thomas. Funny enough, like we know those three are starting. I would add in. Okay, let's see, Jalen McCullough. That's 4. I'm at 4, and
Okay.
Tyler Barron.
So your 5 are Barron, McCullough, Milton, Mays, Warren.
No, Barron, McCullough, Mays, Ward, and Thomas. No Milton, because he might lose his starting job.
Okay. You didn't pick my guy. How about that? How difficult does this get? It's pretty challenging. You didn't pick my guy at all. So whoever does on the message board, I will hook you up with an Off the Hook Sports t-shirt and I will send it your way. You get to pick the color and size. So it's pretty cool. But no, you haven't picked my guy yet. And I think my guy will be a little bit of a surprise. And I think that I think it's very apt based off last year. How about that? Very, very apt. Does that give you any sort of hint? Look at it. He's struggling. All right. It's time for What the H? And it's brought to you by our friends at Zen Sports. Met with those guys yesterday, man. They are rolling along and doing absolutely fantastic. And the rewards they give are absolutely through the roof. Use the promo code HOOKED. I'll tell you more about it. What the H?
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show,
Keep cool.
a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
All righty. So here's what Joe Milton said, and we are hooking up with Fred White. And no, he is not related to Reggie White. Good question. I never thought to ask that question, but he's not. So I guess we're all related in some shape, form, or fashion if we really go back. But no, they are not closely related at all. So Joe Milton had this to say when asked what it meant to beat Clemson while playing close to home. He said, quote, "I don't lose in Florida. I took that one to the heart. Pretty much take every game to the heart, but I don't lose in Florida." What SEC team is Tennessee playing in September this year south of Knoxville?
I believe that would be Florida.
Thoughts on Joe Milton trash talking? He said this at the Manning Passing Academy. I'm sure he didn't think it'd be out. It was on a Locked On SEC podcast. And your thoughts on Joe Milton with some maybe incidental trash talking?
Well, I'm sorry. I know we don't like to do this during the segments, but I love Travis's WTF playoff yesterday's show.
Absolutely. Well, that's fun. Yeah. WTF does not mean, well, that's fun. We worked that out with Josh Ward yesterday. Let's bring Fred White into this. And Fred's appearance brought to you by Zen Sports. Fred, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. About you guys?
Never better. Never better. So Joe Milton said this. He said, quote, about the Clemson playing close to home, the Clemson game in the Orange Bowl. It was very meaningful. I don't lose in Florida. I took that one to heart, pretty much take every game to heart, but I don't lose in Florida. Close quote. I think Tennessee plays at Florida in September. If I can pull up the schedule and double check, but I'm pretty sure. Is this trash talking? What do you think?
I like it, honestly. I'm glad he don't lose in Florida. Keep that up. I mean, I'm okay with him saying what he said. Only thing about talking trash, you need to back it up. That's it. If you can't back it up, then you can't talk trash. But if you can talk trash and back it up, by all means, talk trash.
Well, do you think he'll be able to back it up? We were discussing how he wasn't in any first round picks, mock drafts in the NFL, and Quinn Ewers, the Texas, was. Do you think he can back it up? Do you think he can take that next step? Because accuracy has been an issue.
Well, that's the one thing I think he can. Do I think he can back it up? I think he can. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. But it's, right now it's more potential than anything. Potential means you haven't done anything yet. I mean, you won a bowl game, yes. I think he did a good job in doing so. I think he's gotten better as a quarterback over time. And I think he has what it takes to really make that happen. However, Quinn Ewers, on the other hand, he started for a whole season. So it's not it's not necessarily a comparison of what the talents is or based on what the pre-draft stuff is, and the draft is not even a year. It's almost 9 months away from now. So, a lot can change in a year.
It's very true. Fred's appearance brought to you by our friends at Zen Sports. And Zen Sports is the new sports book in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. That means no more deposit bonuses that turn into deposit nightmares. And Zen Sports, what you see is what you get. With their cash rewards program, you get a lot of cash. For a welcome bonus, earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign up with the code HOOKED. That's HOOKED. That's right. Unlimited 5% cash back. Keep betting and keep earning. You earn money with up to 3% cash back on your betting volume every month after that. And refer friends to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards as well. Zen Sports is bringing the cash back to Tennessee. So if you bet big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports. Zen Sports betting just got better. We were discussing earlier, is Joe Milton struggled with accuracy, Fred, or was he struggling with timing in the times that balls sailed wide?
I think you can say both at times. Accuracy on the deep balls, because some of those were overthrown, and that sometimes is timing. Working with those receivers on a regular basis and getting the same reps with those guys. But I think watching what he did in the bowl game, if he can build off just that one game. I know it was just one game, but building off that game, he had pretty good timing with those guys. And I'm watching him at the Banning camp throw this ball this is one of the hardest throws to make too, by the way, from the right hash to the corner of the end zone. He made that throw. I haven't seen many college quarterbacks be able to make that throw. That's the same throw that Jacob Eason threw against Tennessee. Yeah, they lost with the Hail Mary, Josh Dobbs to, Juwan Jennings there. I think that is one of the hardest throws to make in college football. In pro football, that's one of the hardest throws to make. Opposite hash to the corner, to the opposite corner, that's telling you got time and also touch. So I think he's worked on those things, and I'm hoping that that's the case going forward into the season. You would hear if he wasn't doing well.
That's right. We would hear that.
You would hear that he's not doing well. Somebody would let it be known that he's not doing well. I don't think anybody said anything about him not doing well in summer workouts or in 7-on-7 drills. You'd know. We knew about Garantano. Man,
true.
He looks, but I don't know what it's going to look like when he turn the lights on. Joe Milton has been one of those guys that went away when the lights came on. And I'm not trying to down Garantano, but we heard good and bad about him from players, coaches alike. We haven't heard those things about Joe this spring and summer.
Here's what I've heard about Joe is that he was taking things seriously, obviously, before the Orange Bowl. And by the way, I said this earlier before you came on. I love the fact that he can throw the slants and the dig routes and those sort of things over the middle with really good accuracy, at least he did against Clemson. I think Tennessee's offense will look a little bit different. But here's what I was told. He was taking everything seriously and he was ready to be the guy. And Nico shows up, and it's kind of a reaffirmation that he's going to have to bust it in the offseason to hold off Nico. And that just kind of took him up another level. What have you heard about Joe in the offseason?
I mean, I've heard very similar that he was doing well. Then all of a sudden, in comes this freshman. I can't let this freshman take my job. I think that pride kicks in a little bit, and that competition does. So this is what you think about when you talk about quarterbacks or any player. Hey, man, compete for the job. Be better than the other person. Don't leave because that person came in. And also, when you come in, you don't just get a job because you came in. You better bust your butt to get it. So I think that's a great example of a guy coming in who's highly recruited, highly rated. Hey, man, you got to still come in and get this. You got to win the job. We don't give you nothing. You win it. And if you're the guy who's in position already, hey, your job can be taken. Don't put your hat on the mound. It'll be gone.
There you go.
Fred, interestingly enough, with the Joe Milton comment, I wanted to ask you the most about it because I recall Fred White having a teammate at quarterback who came from Alabama and once mentioned that he never lost to a school from Alabama while he played at Tennessee.
We owned Alabama, still do.
And Auburn, by the way. Y'all beat when T. Martin started, y'all beat Alabama twice.
Alabama teams. None of them. UAB, Auburn.
Yep. That's true. Y'all even got UAB in there. T. Martin was able to beat UAB. He beat every school from Alabama, basically.
Every school from Alabama.
Was there did you ever notice anything different about T. Martin whenever he was playing at Alabama school? Did he seem like he just was there extra level?
Absolutely. See, there's this thing in the locker room where if you're from that state, you do not want to lose to that state. You want to see somebody have their best week of practice or their best games, where do we play their state? That's the game you would do anything in the world not to lose. Anything in the world not to lose. You're going to play extra hard. You're going to tackle a little bit harder. You're going to run a little faster. You're going to do everything you can. Scratch, clock. You do not want to lose to your home state.
And if you're Jamal Lewis, you might have your breakout game.
Yeah, but Fred, you guys got Alabama when they were down.
Hey, man. You almost got tackled through the screen, man. Are you serious? Remember the first round draft picks they had on
I know.
They had an NFL MVP.
They had some talent. They had a lot of talent.
Yeah, they won a national championship in '92. So, I mean, it's not like they were bad at all. They just had coaches that like to have affairs. Other than that, they were all good.
Well, when Fred White played him, they just had a coach who just wasn't. No offense to Mike DeBose, Fred, but come on. He wasn't the brightest coach in the box.
Yeah, I mean, neither was Jim Donnan or Ray Goff. So, I mean,
drunken Ray Goff.
I mean,
but y'all shut down in '99 a future NFL MVP, and y'all just shut him down. That was the story of that '99 game at Alabama. Y'all didn't let Sean Alexander do anything on you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Backstory, and I haven't heard it, but Fred's referenced it, and Caleb brought it up. So, what are your thoughts on Sean Alexander?
I don't have any problem with Sean Alexander. I think Sean Alexander got a problem with me.
Why is that?
Well, part of my job on the team was I made it my job. I didn't anybody give me the job. I took the job on myself. I would go find out who were the top players on the team and figure out who their girlfriends or, if they had any kids or what their mama name was or whatever your name, your sister name, anything. I get all the information I could. And I found out what his girlfriend's name was. Her name was Jennifer.
Oh, no.
And every time we played them, I made sure he knew that Jennifer was staying with me.
Oh, poor Jennifer. I don't know if that worked out with the two or not, but maybe Fred was part of the reason it may not have. So did you see him after you guys played on the field? Did he bring up Jennifer? Are they still together, or do you know?
Hey, man, he don't even shake my hand when I see him today.
You know, the great part about it, that's before the WWW, when you could have easily found out his girlfriend's name. You actually had to put some work into it.
I had a couple of high school classmates that went to Alabama. I called and asked the questions. Hey, man, I need some information on a couple of players. Man, you got a girlfriend? You know, what's his name? What's her name? Oh, really? Okay. Where's she from? Cool. Got it. Just a little bit of information goes a long way.
That is.
It's my equivalent of Dennis Rodman sending strippers to the players' hotel rooms when they were getting ready to play them the night before. You find out all the information you need from them, and then you just use it in the game. That's how you get under somebody.
Wait, Dennis Rodman actually did that?
Yeah, you didn't know
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So did Eric Dickinson.
Wow.
Fred knows who this is, but I'm not going to say it because I was told this in confidence. But there is one legendary coach that used to reward his secondary with a pro, a lady of the night. Think my last name. Think Tennessee quarterback's last name last year, and he would serve up a pro on Wednesdays to the defensive back that graded out the highest in the game before. Would that be motivation to you, Fred?
Motivation to get paid more so than that day.
Yeah, you did all right with the ladies. But
did y'all ever watch Dodgeball? Remember Patches O'Houlihan with Vince Vaughn? He's like, I got some hookers in the back. What do you say? My treat.
That was this coach, and Fred knows who it is. Don't say who it is, Fred. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how shocking was it that it was this particular coach?
It's very shocking.
Shocking. He was viewed as kind of this solemn, elderly gentleman, but yeah. So that's not public info. I'm sorry I can't share that, and he's not with us. I definitely want to
share that one, Dave.
No, I don't want to talk ill of the dead as well. Let's go ahead and get to 4 downs right now, where the topic is trash talking. 4 downs brought to you by crafttreats.com.
4 downs. 4 questions. 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
4
downs. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
We're talking trash, and it's brought to you by crafttreats.com. Use the promo code offthehook. Get 20% off the various treats that they have for your pet, including the chill pills with the CBD that will help with your pet's anxiety, will help with your pet's arthritis, will help with your pet's digestive issues. crafttreats.com. Use the promo code offthehook. We greatly appreciate it when you support our sponsors. So let's go ahead and get the first down, and Cooper Mays is the one who will bring us in on each and every down. Coop, what down is this?
Coop here. First down.
Thank you, Coop. So who was the best trash talker you ever played with?
Me.
Other than Fred.
Raynold Thompson, Sean Ellis. They talked a gang of it. Yeah. We were the 3 guys on the team that everybody couldn't stop from talking. And we were going to say whatever was on our mind, and we meant everything we said. And if you ask any player that played on our team, when the next guys come up for our Celebrate 98, you ask them who were the biggest trash talkers. And I guarantee you those 3 names will come up.
what was we just on Celebrate 98, we just did Spencer Riley, and he is absolutely hilarious. And it's brought to you by Tennessee Cider Company. Use the promo code HAT to get some free swag. HAT. Whenever you order from Tennessee Cider Company, you can order their fantastic cider pretty much anywhere in the United States of America. But Spencer Riley, I didn't view as a trash talker, but could he talk some trash?
Oh, absolutely. He was the only offensive lineman that actually would talk some trash. Everybody else was quiet. Cozy Coleman in a little bit, but Spencer Riley, yeah, he got it in.
That's pretty awesome.
So before we go to second down with this, though, so Fred, I hear a lot of trash that you guys did a lot of trash talk, that Al Wilson was so vocal, but who was the good cop to y'all's bad cops? Because, the Bulls, Michael Jordan was the bad cop and Scottie Pippen was the good cop. Did y'all have a good cop leader to
Eric Westbrook was probably the guy who they always went to try to get us to stop talking.
Really?
Needless to say, Eric was the guy who caught a lot of the, friendly fire from his teammates when it comes to trying to get us to stop talking. So,
he was the Scottie Pippen.
He was. I'm not going to. No. He was definitely not Scottie Pippen. Nope.
Yeah.
No. He was more Charles Barkley than Scottie Pippen. But
That's a pretty good comparison.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay, so let's get to second down. Coop, second down.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
Thank you, Coop. Who was, and you don't have to name him necessarily, but you can give me kind of a thumbnail sketch. Was there a player who talked a lot of trash that didn't ultimately back it up? You can tell me a player, or you can just kind of give me a thumbnail sketch.
no, because if you talk trash, you had to back it up. If you couldn't back it up, we'll tell you to shut up.
Okay, Brian Darden talked a lot of trash, right?
He did, but that's different. That's different. He's talking trash in practice. We talk about talking trash in games, right?
Oh, yeah. Either or. Yeah.
There's a difference. He talked trash when he first got to school, but he didn't talk any trash after he got to school. There's a difference.
Gotcha. Okay.
I got a name for them. I got a name for Fred for his time when he played there. Steve Spurrier talked a lot of trash, and then y'all won 2 SEC titles. That all season he said all those things about y'all. Y'all won the SEC title the next 2 years after Steve Spurrier did that.
That was the one reason why I was not able to do a lot of media back in the day. That's why Dave had to call me from my room instead of me doing it in the media room, because they did not want me to do any interviews. Because if Steve Spurrier, I did say something back one time, and that was the last time I ever did an interview until my senior year.
There you go. Let's go third down, Coop.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Did trash talking ever actually get under your skin?
Under mine?
Mm-hmm.
No.
As a person?
No. I know it's a tactic. I use it very well. Listen, you can't trash talk or trash talking. Hey, man, that's part of my game. I woke up every Friday with all the goods on everybody. So I knew what to use and how to use it in a game. So if you talk trash to me, I'm just gonna go deeper. You do realize I know your mama name. You do realize I know what your daddy do for a living. You do realize I know your girlfriend name, your baby mama name. I even know your child's name. What do you know about me? I'm telling you straight facts. You're not telling me straight facts. You just trying to say something to try, get under my skin. I have done my homework.
Yeah, it's one thing saying you bleepity bleep, and it's another thing saying I can't wait to hang out with Jennifer later tonight. What down is it, Coop?
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
All right, what's the best line you've either used or heard? Please don't cite the one that you used on a fellow reporter in the car as we were driving back from Atlanta when we were scouting Eric Berry, because that's the best trash talking line I've ever heard. I can't even
bring that up, Dave. You brought that up. There's a few of them that I can't even say on air, so I don't even remember exactly which ones. I just know that I playing against Georgia, I knew all their girlfriends. I knew every last one of their girlfriends' names. I knew every last one of their baby mama's names or babies' names. I knew their parents' names. I've been knowing these guys since I was in high school. I've been talking trash to them since I was in high school. So They got it probably worse than anybody because I knew all of them. And I talked a lot of trash. I just remember walking into Sanford Stadium that one time and basically letting them know that this is still my house. you might go to school here, you might play here, but this is my house. I built it because I beat all y'all, and y'all ain't never beat me in nothing. Not badminton, not spades, not pity pat, not goldfish, not nothing. You never beat me in anything. So make sure you understand when I leave here, this is my field still.
Good stuff. All right, so
good night.
Fred, how far would you have gone in the Rap Olympics in the 90s if you went?
Say what now?
I said when the Rap Olympics was a thing, how far would you have gone with all your skills?
I wouldn't have gone far. I'm not good at rapping.
Oh, you don't have the bars? But you got the trash talk though, which is half the battle.
Yeah, but it don't rhyme. In order to be a rapper, you got to rhyme, right? It didn't rhyme. I'm just spit some real facts, and, some untruths in there, and also some facts. I got the names correct. I know what they like. I know what they're doing, and I'm gonna make sure you know that they're gonna get a chance to do it in my city. In our city.
So then, one of the competitors should have hired you as a consultant to do oppo research on everybody in the Olympics.
Yes.
And then they could have used that information.
I could have been an investigative reporter.
Yes.
You really could have. By the way, go ahead.
I Fred, on my other job, I cover politics a lot, and some campaign staff should be hiring you right now to do oppo research on their opponent.
Absolutely. They should be. They really should be. The funnest thing, it was fun, man. To me, trash talking was fun. It was a way to get you out of your game. If I got you so upset at me during the game, you're not focused on what you're supposed to be doing. And all I'm focusing on at that point is continue to just rub it in. I'm going to rub it in every chance I walk past you. My mom used to say to me sometimes, "Hey, I just see your head going up and down the whole game. What are you doing?" I'm just saying, "Yeah, Mama, we having a good game. Yep, that's it."
We're having a great game.
I'm not going to tell them what I was saying, but I was saying a lot.
Hit that like button if you're on Twitter or YouTube or Facebook for that matter, and feel free to share. The retweet is very helpful. If you haven't subscribed to this point, you need to do so because we've got a fantastic fall lined up. Of course, Fred White on Fridays, and then Josh Ward on Thursdays. We'll have more daily guests throughout the week. Looking forward to that. And Fred, if people want to be in good hands, who do they need to call?
They can actually look us up online at fredwhiteallstate.com. You can Google us. You can also look us up on every social media platform. The same thing, fredwhiteallstate.com or Fred White Allstate. We'll take quotes from anywhere. We also have a link on our website where you can actually get a quote for yourself without actually having to talk to us. But we would love to talk to you, like to have a conversation sometimes. Also, give us a call at 770-381-0367. We'd love to be able to help you out. We'd love to be able to put you in good hands. Our goal is to make sure that you at least walk away with the knowledge of what you have or what you need for your car or your home or also your life insurance. And we also do business insurance as well. So bring me those commercial autos.
There you go. So I referred to Fred one time as an overachiever, and he told me about his 100-meter dash time, and I shared it yesterday on the program. Travis asked, I put it up on the screen, did you really run a 10-2, and why were you not a wide receiver? You did run a 10-2.
Yes, I did.
That's fast.
And I the reason why I came to Tennessee was because I could run track and play football. There was not a school on my list that I couldn't do both. If I couldn't do both, you were off my list immediately. So I wanted to come in. My goal was to be in the 1996 Olympics, and I thought I was fast enough to be able to get close, because I'm from Georgia. I wanted to be in the 96 Olympics in Atlanta. Got to school and started lifting weights a little bit heavier than what I was used to and gained about 15 pounds immediately. Still was fast, but my fastest time was a 10-2. I ran a 10-1-8. It was wind aided. So, yeah. And play receiver, I saw how hard I hit. I saw how hard other guys hit. I much rather be landing a lick than to take one.
It's a very good point. And I want to put up this quote as well from D. Spencer was great talking about Spencer Riley. Love to celebrate 98 series GBO. And I got an email from Fred that we have a very special guest lined up for next week. If you want to tease that forward, Fred, he's one of the all-time Tennessee great receivers. And I say that knowing that Tennessee was wide receiver U when I was growing up in Knoxville. So I don't say that lightly at all.
You know, this guy was the guy who played Peter Ward for us in practice before we played Florida State. It was also the guy who made us realize Peter Ward wasn't that fast.
And it's Dante Stallworth because Dante was faster.
He ran a 4.1840 for the Scouts when they came to UT. I watched that with my own eyes. The lowest time, the highest time they had for him was a 4.21 on that run. And I watched that with my own two eyes. It looked like a 4.18. It looked like somebody running that fast. It was insane. He was like a shot out of a rocket. But he played Peter Ward, and we couldn't stop him in practice. Toward the end, we started to catch up to him and catch his angles, those type of things. But when we got to the game, we realized how much faster Dante was than Peter Ward.
Wow.
So it made the game that much easier for us playing against him.
Fred, it's funny you mentioned that, and then we'll let you go. I know you got a busy day, but there is some of the pro days were open, some weren't to the media. And really, with the naked eye, it's tough to tell the difference between a 4.5 and a 4.4. But the one guy that I said, like you said with Stallworth, that I said, holy Hannah, he just made himself a lot of money. Before I even heard the number, do you want to guess who it is?
Who's that?
It was Jamal Lewis. I was like, when he ran at 235 pounds, and I think it was a 4.32, maybe
4.31.
4.31. I remember I said to myself before they announced the times, that's faster than all get out. And sure enough, it was.
You know what? We told Jamal after he ran it, hey, man, go put on your stuff and leave.
He did leave.
He did.
Did you tell him to do that?
We all did. Put your stuff on and leave. Go home.
He did immediately leave the field. His family was there on an upper deck in the workout facility. They cheered, and he did, man. He just walked right out.
Yep. Like you ran a 4.31 and you're a 235-pound running back. Hey, man, leave. Bye. They'll call you.
8 men have run for 2,000 yards in a season in the NFL.
And he's one of them.
Still crazy to think that Peyton Manning and Jamal Lewis were in the same backfield for a college team. Like, that's a dream backfield for an NFL team. And they were a backfield for a college team.
And that's the thing that we tell people all the time. Like, man, we were before our time. Our group was before our time. You had 3 great running backs on the same high school, on the same college football team. Offensive lineman, one of the best quarterbacks that ever played football. I mean, how much luckier can you get as a player, to be on a team like that?
Pretty good football team. Google Fred White All-State, and Fred will take care of you. And we love having him on a Football Friday with Fred. Fred, have a fantastic weekend. We'll talk to you soon, sir. And we will have Dante Stallworth, which we're recording on Tuesday night, so that'll drop on Wednesday. Celebrate 98, brought to you by Tennessee Cider Company, tncidercompany.com. Use the promo code HAT, and with any order, you get some free swag. And it tastes darn good too, Fred.
It does. And man, if you're ever in the Gatlinburg area, you're making a trip to go to Gatlinburg, make sure you stop by. Go take a tour. I promise you you'll enjoy it. Ask for Aaron Maples, and they'll take care of you. Him and Brady. Those guys will do a good job for you. I promise you. I'm telling you, you're in good hands. You'll be in good hands there as well.
There you go. Good stuff, Fred. I appreciate it, buddy.
And also Google Fred White Jennifer later, which is what I want to do. So
I tried. I googled Sean Alexander Jennifer to see if they stayed together, and I had to put in Alabama. I was doing all this googling while Fred was talking, and I wanted to find out if Sean and Jennifer are still together.
I seriously doubt it.
That is awful. Pardon my cough as I have a bit of a cold. Fred, great stuff, buddy. I appreciate you.
Off the hook. Go Vols.
Fred White is fantastic. It could have been Jennifer White at some point.
There's one of my favorite rappers out of Memphis. His name is Yo Gotti. He has a great song when he was in his early days coming up, where he said, and I'm gonna do the cleaned up version. So he basically says, after I get physical with your woman, I will inform you about it.
Well, that's good. At least he's letting you know.
At least he's letting you know, gentlemen, right?
Yeah. 2 minutes, and we come back with Tennessee, not a top 30 program in the college football playoff era. Will they be after this season? And if the Saudis got involved with college football, as they have with so many other sports entities, would that affect your fandom? Because it's going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of time. Maybe by next year. 2 minutes off the hook sports.
Want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Our family has been creating one-of-a-kind pieces of jewelry in West Knoxville since 1986. Each piece is a combination of unique processes that bring your idea to life. Every day in our shop, a truly special item with a story all its own is being manufactured in our facility, bringing the history and family sentiment into a whole new generation of life. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler, a title that we value and respect. Because to me, being a jeweler and owning a jewelry store are not the same thing. I'm Rick Terry, I'm a jeweler, and we want to be your jeweler. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut, and downtown on Gay Street right next to the Tennessee Theater.
With all that sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center. Ah.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
Elias says Fred could lead the most unsettling pregame PA hype package in history. That would be pretty good. Imagine if he was doing the starting lineups. And now, Sean Alexander dating Jennifer for now. Running back Alabama. That would have been fantastic. Can you imagine that? Maybe we can get Jeff Jarnigan to do that. He's a PA guy. Probably wouldn't be the best idea for his future as a PA guy, but it would be absolutely hilarious. I didn't know about the Olympics that Fred wanted to run in. This segment the Saudis are going to get involved in college football. It's a matter of time. And we saw the Live tour come together with the PGA Tour very quickly when it seemed like they absolutely hated one another. So we're going to get to that. But first, will Tennessee be a top 25 program after this season? Top 25 in the college football playoff era. So recently, according to the Sporting News, and Bill Bender, a friend of the program who we'll have on from time to time this fall, had a scoring method to rank the best programs of the college football playoff era. As you might expect, Alabama was number 1, Clemson number 2, Ohio State number 3, Georgia number 4, Oklahoma number 5. Then I'll run down the rest. LSU, Michigan, Notre Dame, Oregon, Wisconsin in the top 10. Tennessee not in the top 30. When you go down the list, they are tied for 33rd with a bunch of other schools, including Mississippi State, Houston, Stanford, Western Michigan, Virginia, Iowa State, North Carolina, Tulane, Kansas State. Explain to me how this formula is created. And then I want to ask you the question, will Tennessee be a top 25 program in the college football era after this year?
So the formula is created with, you get 10 points for a national championship. You get 5 points for a college football playoff championship appearance. You get 5 points for a college football playoff appearance. Now, to be fair, Dave, you tell me, do you think you should get more points for appearing in the title game versus just appearing in the college football playoff? Or do you think since it's 4 teams, that carries the same weight?
I would give more points to those who advance further. So if I'm doing this, you get 5 points to make it. If you make the college football playoff, you get, let's say, 7 points if you win your semifinal game, and you get 10 points if you win it all.
Okay. So
that's just me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then, so a New Year's 6 appearance is 2 points. And then other metrics are winning percentage, consensus All-Americans, NFL draft picks, Heisman Trophy winner, and a Heisman Trophy winner is an extra point, basically. So using these formulas, Tennessee's total score was 2 with a bunch of other teams because they've just made a New Year's 6 bowl, which puts them in league with, unfortunately for them, an in-state school in Memphis, which actually was ranked ahead of Tennessee until this year, probably because of that. That's all they've got to their resume right now. Now, of course, the college football playoff came into existence when Tennessee was at its lowest point in history. I mean, they had been on the heels of 4 straight losing seasons, the only time since 1907 to 1910 that happened. And also they were entering an era with a very incompetent, who you refer to as a sociopath, head coach.
Maybe. So let me ask you this. Will Tennessee be top 25 using this formula after this year college football playoff era team?
No.
No. Okay, why?
Because they will only get 2 more points after this year. And those 2 more points will be, they're going to make another New Year's 6 bowl, so they'll get to 4 points. But that would put them at number 29 right now. They still need, they got to get to a college football playoff or win a national title. And the scoring method is going to have to change in a year anyway when the CFP goes to 12 teams. So it's, unless they make the playoff, which even if they make the playoff, by the way, that still would put them at number 27, tied with Baylor. To get into the top 25, they actually have to win the national title this year. That's the only way they can crack the top 25. So no, they're not going to be a top 25 team after this year.
That would be quite a year. 25 years later, you shouldn't have to wait 47 years for a national championship. 25 would be pretty neat. I think Tennessee is at the very worst one of the New Year's 6 bowls, and I think they've got maybe a better opportunity than you think. I'm curious of making the college football playoff, and I say that because, man, I think Alabama views Tennessee, or at least should, as a tough matchup overall. especially now that I think they're going to dial things down a little bit, play ball control. I could be dead wrong, Alabama fans, but to me, it feels a little bit like desperation in this day and age of up tempo. You're going to try to zig while other people are zagging. So it wouldn't surprise me actually if Tennessee made the college football playoff. I've got them predicted going 10-2, but at 11-1, they definitely make it. At 10-2, they could make it. So I'm not ruling them out of a college football playoff right now. The only game that I can't see Tennessee winning this year is Georgia. I could see them beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa, which sounds insane.
I mean, I could see them beating both teams. I could easily see them beating Georgia too at Neyland, the second to last week of the year. We've talked a lot about Joe Milton in this show, and Josh Pate had a great talking point, Dave, the other day. You know, when he talked about dark horse Heisman contenders, you know this, Dave. The Heisman's all about moments more than anything. Like Hendon Hooker's moment was the Alabama game. What if Joe Milton's moment is the Georgia game? That's the second to last week of the season. I mean, maybe one of the reasons Tennessee's never had a Heisman winner is because their last game has always been Vanderbilt. So you're not going to get a Heisman moment in November if you're Tennessee, because who do you get your Heisman moment against? I mean, normally you play a bad schedule in November. I thought Peyton Manning had a Heisman moment against Auburn in the 97 SEC championship game. Between me and you, Dave, I think a lot of people turned in their ballots before that SEC title game in 97. And I think that's why Woodson won. Because
there's some people that turn their votes in 3 weeks before, which I think is just absolutely insane.
Yes, and also during that time, a lot of voters didn't believe you should take conference championship games into account because everybody didn't play it. Like many people may have felt it's unfair that Peyton Manning got this extra week, whereas Charles Woodson didn't have that because the Big Ten didn't have a title game that year. But so yeah, you need a November moment. Tennessee doesn't have. They have a chance now for a November moment. See, when you cover Tennessee, November was just a throwaway month. Honestly,
it was horrible. It was all about bold predictions. And a lot of those Vanderbilt Kentucky games, Tennessee didn't play well because they didn't respect those two teams. They were far better, and Tennessee would either come out and score 35 in the first half and the game was over, or it seemed like Vanderbilt and Kentucky would hang tough and eventually Tennessee's talent would win out. There was no opportunity for a Heisman moment. Those two games, there was no opportunity to improve your standing in what is now a college football playoff, because those two games were everything to lose, nothing to win. You're supposed to win them. At the time, they'd beat them, 22, 24 years in a row, respectively. So you're just supposed to win those games. If you play flat, that ain't good. And Tennessee oftentimes did play flat.
And how are you supposed to compete with that when you have, like, in 93, Charlie Ward gets to beat Florida for his last regular season game, or, you know, whoever it may be winning Heisman's during that time period. I mean, Charles Woodson gets to play Ohio State for his last regular season game. I mean, and you're stuck here playing, just hoping to get by Vanderbilt and wanting to fall out of bed and sleep through it. I mean, that's kind of the issue. So Georgia this year, the fact that Tennessee plays Georgia second to last game, Joe Milton is uniquely positioned to have a Heisman moment because Tennessee finally has a meaningful November game. And I think they can beat Georgia because we haven't seen Neyland you haven't, because what we're talking about. We've never seen Neyland in late November for a late November game that's really, really meaningful, ever. That's never happened.
So it's a very, very good point that I hadn't even considered to this point. Travis says, I'm willing to bet Caleb's paperback book collection in the background that Clemson struggles to finish in the top 10 from here on. I think Clemson.
They're mostly hardbacks. What are you talking about, bro?
Yeah, I think that I do believe that Clemson is going to be the one program who could suffer the most moving forward in this college football playoff. But I still think they'll be pretty good and hang out there for a while. Then we'll see how much longer Dabo Swinney wants to do this thing, and we'll see what the guy's first name, Riley's brother.
Garrett Riley.
We'll see what he does offensively with those guys. Now, to the Saudis, certainly not a conversation that I thought I would be having a year ago. But David Ubben, who covers Tennessee for The Athletic and also is just a fantastic writer in terms of coming up with angles, coming up with ideas. He interviewed 4 unnamed athletic directors. And this is what one said. I'd say close to 50% of schools and athletic department leaders would navigate their way to yes when asked about would they take money from the Saudis, much like the Saudis have developed the Live Tour, and it's PIL is the name of the fund, but it's actually just Saudi Arabia money, and it's a lot of money. We're not talking about a few $100 million. We're talking about billions. And the PGA Tour realized that they couldn't match the money. This same source said, quote, if you'd asked me before the Live PGA Tour came together, I would have said less than 10%, meaning a chance that some school would take Saudi money. Then finishing off the quote, because even the most aggressive and thoughtful athletic directors, everyone is afraid to go first when it comes to the PIF and their involvement in American sports. And the PGA just went first. Some angles that were brought up by Josh Pate that make a lot of sense. And that is the ACC is going to be in trouble. The Pac-12, 10, whatever they end up with, 14, is in big time trouble. People don't even want to put them on TV for nothing. And I could easily see the PIL or Saudis getting involved with the ACC, but first the Pac-12. I think Pac-10, whatever they end up being. So I could see that happening. The other reason I could see that happening, and I believe will happen, to be real honest with you, is because you have a more liberal attitude out west. And I think a lot of people will say to themselves, oh, let's move on from 9/11. I mean, I've not forgiven anybody for what happened. And I realize that these people may be different people and all of that, but it still would be a factor in my mind. The Pac-12 is dying on the vine. To think that they wouldn't take money, to me, sounds a little bit crazy. So the way this could work, as Josh Pate had pointed out, you could essentially set up, now with streaming, you could set up a Pac-12 network and you're airing their games since nobody else wants to do it. Who cares if you lose money or not? You're essentially going to promote and what's called sports washing. You're going to sports wash your reputation. If you lose $100 million a year, Caleb, that's like you and me losing $5 a year. That's nothing. So I think it will happen, and I think it'll happen by next football season. That being said, how do you think that would affect people's thoughts on either that conference that they do it first with or college football as a whole?
You know, here's where I think it's trickier. I actually break with you on this. I don't think the Pac-12 would not care about this, and here's why. They don't care that these Pac-12 teams don't care that much about football to begin with. So I think it's easy for them to take the principled stance. If Saudi Arabia buys my team, I'm not going to watch them. Whereas people in this, I think it'd be more likely if Saudi Arabia bought an SEC team, the SEC fan bases wouldn't go. I mean, look, you talk about liberal versus conservative. Golf is a very conservative sport. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's a very conservative sport. The Saudis just bought off all professional golf right now. Golf fans are still going to show up. And this is the peak like patriotism crew, and they've just totally I mean, there was a golfer just a few weeks ago that went on TV and said we need to forgive for 9/11. I mean, the nerve of someone to say that. Like, and I mean, you know,
so it's time to move on. And then he said that, well, let me rephrase it. And it just got worse.
Yeah. And it's one of those where it's always been funny because Saudi Arabia, where they've always had this weird left, if you want to do left-right dichotomy, whereas I think, two people on the left maybe too willing to get past 9/11, but also people on the right are a little more tied to oil, and Saudi Arabia is just the oil supplier of the world. So I don't know how this ends up. I mean, look, sports leagues for a long time every sports league has been letting Honduras, China, whatever oppressive regime or government you name, produce their jerseys, market them to their fans and audience, and nobody's really cared. I mean, how long has Michael Jordan been using Chinese slave labor to make his shoes? And he's the most beloved athlete of the 21st century.
And it was a big deal, 20 years ago? But it's just, we've grown accustomed to it now, and it's not a big deal. It was Bryson DeChambeau who said that, quote, look toward the pathway to peace and forgiveness when talking about 9/11. Just Bryson DeChambeau, just shut the hell up. Don't do any more interviews. I mean,
the pathway towards peace and forgiveness is for this Saudi regime to be overthrown and somebody and a more democratic regime take over there. That's peace and forgiveness.
I could not say it better myself. There's no way I could phrase that better than what you just said. Rocky Top Tom says, if Saudi money gets in college sports, I'm burning everything college related that I have. Once again, the theme continues: money equals problems, and nobody does a thing about it. They just want more, especially in the golf world. But we've seen that in the college football world as well. But I'm curious, guys, if it is Pac-12 and it's somewhat removed from the SEC, would you have as strong a stance? And particularly asking Tom, but you're just, if it's removed from the SEC, if it's removed from your favorite school, be it Tennessee, or we got a lot of Georgia fans, we got a lot of South Carolina fans that tune in. If it's insulated from your conference in your school, is it a no big deal thing, or is it, like Tom said, it affects it across the board and he's burning stuff?
I mean, look, I've had a issue. I've been screaming about the Saudi Arabian thing for 20 years, and for me personally, look, I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to not watch football, even if they buy out, even if they purchase the SEC. I would not watch it, because here's my take on it, Dave. If you got a problem with it, it's the government's job to regulate these type of things. It's the government's job to step in and say you can't do business with Saudi Arabia or China. Don't blame the leagues and the businesses that look. Businesses and corporations and moneymakers are in the business of making money. That's what they do. They're amoral. There's no such thing as morality in markets and capitalism. Now, we believe in a capitalistic society because we think that's the best way to uplift communities. But then we believe that the government is the one to step in and kind of be the referees to say, okay, we got to set some moral boundaries in place. I would think a moral boundary would be don't do business with the country that facilitated the worst terrorist attack on our grounds in history. So how am I supposed to blame a conference or even the PGA Golf Tour when our government's out here? Our government makes Saudi Arabia our top ally. How can I sit there and blame these leagues when, and it was 50 years ago where Richard Nixon opened up trade with China? I mean, if you don't blame the NBA, blame Richard Nixon and blame every president after who has allowed us to trade as a country to trade with China. So I know people are like, oh, government get out of everything. Well, this is what the government's job is. If the government doesn't do this, then we might as well just not have one, period, and just have anarchy.
Yep. I'll tell you what to look for, and I think it'll happen fairly quickly. Is they're they've invested in a part of an ownership group that is trying to purchase an NFL team, which I believe is the Washington Commanders. Correct me if I'm wrong, Caleb. But once that happens, it is the next step. They're going to go after college football. It's the second most popular sport to the NFL in the nation. It's exactly what's going to happen. And then you get in sort of a grassroots. I mean, imagine if you could change the mindset of an entire generation, a group that wasn't alive during 9/11, and suddenly Saudi Arabia is just another country. And if you could do that, what better place to do it than in the time in which minds and opinions are being developed in that 18 to 22 range? And what better way to do it, if you're talking sports, is college football. That would be even bigger than the NFL.
And don't even
for them.
Oh yeah, and we haven't even thought about this. So Saudi Arabia does this. What's to stop Iran to then come in and say, you know what? Saudi Arabia is going to do this. Why can't we? What makes us any less moral than Saudi Arabia? And they would have a point, by the way. And so I know we have sanctions on Iran right now, but Iran could then come in and say, well, why do you have sanctions on us and not Saudi Arabia? If they can do this, government, let us do it. And then you could see Iran start to buy teams. And then the entire Middle East proxy war that's happening right now, for those that don't know, Saudi Arabia and Iran are basically like in a Cold War that's worse than the United States and the Soviet Union was. Like, one side pulls the trigger, you're going to have nuclear war in the Middle East at some point. What happens when American entertainment becomes the proxy war for those two countries?
Scary stuff. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope it doesn't happen. But if I had to bet a mortgage payment, let's say it does within 5 years. I hope and pray I'm wrong. Like, literally pray. Like, when I say you brought this topic up, and it will be a part of my prayers. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Praying that won't happen. Praying that we'll have a fantastic show each and every weekday at 10 a.m. So I go back and who's going to win the shirt? I go back over the comments, and I told you at the beginning of the program that I've got the perfect guy for the cover of a UT 2K24. So I've got General Nealon on there. I've got Milton on there. I've got, man, I don't hate Joe Milton. Stop saying that, Travis. I've got a lot of different people on here, but I'm scrolling and scrolling. Be sure and hit likes. We appreciate that, and subscribe. If it's the first ever, it's Nealon. Totally agree. Cooper Mays got a vote. Brew McCoy got a vote. Squirrel, Brew, or Joe. Possibly Heupel. That is my pick. Travis, I think you already have a shirt, but you can have another one for your friends and family. I'll put my email right here, and I'll hook you up with an Off the Hook Sports shirt, and we greatly appreciate you being a regular listener, but you get the shirt for nailing it. It's Josh Heupel. It's Josh Heupel because you're a little bit unsure of Joe Milton, and you'd love to put Joe Milton on there, but what happens if he doesn't do well? And Josh Heupel, more than any other person, was responsible for such a special season last year. Josh Heupel is on the front of my UT 2K24 game, pointing at something with a clipboard, and he's angry. And congratulations, Travis. Email me, and I'll hook you up with the shirt. We'll see you live, 10 o'clock on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker, Off the Hooks.